It's Miss Pam. I have another story. So, this story is about relatives. We all have relatives. Some of us have a few relatives, and some of us have many. Relative is someone who is related to you in your family, like a cousin, a brother, sister, grandma, aunt, or uncle. Um, Relative is someone special. And some of you have meals with relatives on holidays or special times like birthdays. So let's find out where these relatives are going. Looks like they're in a car. The Relatives Came is the name of this story, and it was written for Aunt Agnes. So whoever wrote this story has an Aunt Agnes, and she wrote this book for her. And now we are reading it. It was in the summer of a year when the relatives came, and they came from Virginia. That's far away. They left when the grapes were nearly purple enough to pick, but not quite. Looks like, look at this. They packed up their car with a lot of things, suitcases, and they left their house. Let's see what's going to happen. Well, they had an old station wagon that smelled like a real car. I wonder what that means. They put in an ice chest or a cooler filled with things like to drink and boxes of crackers and bologna sandwiches, and they were coming from Virginia. They left at 4 in the morning. It was still dark, and the birds weren't even awake. 4 in the morning is not even morning, it's kind of still night, because it is still dark at 4 in the morning. The roosters might be up. They drove all day long into the night, and while they traveled along, they looked at the strange houses, different mountains, some of the grapes that were almost purple, and they thought about us and how we were waiting for them. So they're traveling down long roads, and they're seeing all kinds of scenery. Outside scenery, scenery of other people's homes. A scenery is the picture of the background of where you are. So they drank up their soda pop and ate their crackers and traveled miles and miles until they finally pulled into our yard. Oh, there's the relatives. And the kids were waiting. Do you ever have company coming to your house and you're very excited when they pull into the driveway? When I get company, it's my family members, my relatives, and I get very excited when they're in the driveway. Then it was hugging time. Talk about hugging. Those relatives love to hug. Some of them were even crying. They hugged us for hours. Now, they're not crying sad tears. They're crying happy tears to see their family that they probably don't get to see all the time because they live far away. So that was a happy reunion. It means that they're joined together again. Then it was in the house where we were doing so much laughing. Our faces were shining. We were hugging in the doorways. And we were having a great time with our relatives. If you look in their windows, you can see how much they're enjoying each other's company. That's nice. And finally, after a big supper and 2 or 3 times around the table, there was quick talk in twos or threes through the house. So that means that a lot of little conversations going on. Maybe these 2 friends were talking, and these 2 friends or these 3 friends were all talking. And maybe there were more conversations going on here. A lot of people talking. When you have a big gathering, there are usually a lot of different people talking at the same time. Some friends don't like it. Some friends think there's too much talking at a gathering. The relatives weren't particular about where they would sleep. So since we didn't have much extra room, we squeezed them in with us. And then the rest slept on the floor. Some had very, very little room. Look at them. They all slept on the floor. Some of them were on the floor. Some of them were squeezed into the bed. Have you ever had a sleepover at someone's house and you slept on the floor? Maybe on a blanket or a sleeping bag? I have, and it's a lot of fun. The relatives stayed for weeks and weeks. Oh, wow. They helped us tend the garden and fix our broken things. That's a very long visit. A long visit with their relatives, but that's nice. They helped them with their garden. It looks like this relative is giving someone a haircut. Maybe he's a barber. And this relative is helping them. And these relatives are raking some leaves, doing some yard cleaning. And this fun relative is giving rides. That's nice. They're having a nice long visit with their relatives. When my relatives come, we usually will have a dinner together and eat, and then they go back to their houses. Sometimes we have a sleepover. They ate up all their strawberries and their melon, and they promised that they would eat the peaches and grapes when they went back to Virginia. Oh, looks like they talked about fixing some things. Looks like they're fixing a fence. And this is a fun favorite. They're singing together and playing music. That's fun. I wonder what song they're singing. Do you sing songs with your relatives? Finally, after a long, long time, the relatives loaded up their ice chest or their cooler, and they headed back to Virginia at 4 a.m. again. I think that's a good traveling time. We stood there in our pajamas and we waved goodbye to them in the dark, and we watched our relatives disappear down the road, and then we crawled back in our beds because it was too early to be up, and we fell asleep. So here they are saying goodbye. Their relatives are all packed up in their car again. I bet you they're going to miss them. Bye-bye. And the relatives drove on all day, and into the night they traveled along, looking at the different houses and mountains. Remember that word, scenery? They looked at all the things that were around them, waiting to get back home to Virginia. And they thought about their relatives and missing them. And we missed them too. And they were. And when they finally got home to Virginia, they crawled into their silent, soft beds, and they dreamed about the next summer. Do you think that they visit them every summer? Maybe they do. Maybe they do. Where do you go in the summertime? We just finished having summer. My family went outside and slept in a tent in the woods. That was a nice thing to do. That gave us a lot of fresh air. And we had some fun outside this year. I wonder what you and your family did for a little break. I hope you enjoyed our story about relatives. And I hope that you get some relatives that come to visit, or you do some visiting soon. Bye. See you next time.